This is the Chevy Silverado 1500, and if you want a big badass truck from America, well, this could be the right one for you. It has plenty of presence, it's got plenty of space and practicality on its side as well. And you might be surprised by the price, so stay tuned. If you've already liked and subscribed, thanks very much. Let's take a look, shall we? There are two different versions of the Chevy Silverado 1500 available in Australia. The entry-level one is just on $130,000, so it's not cheap, but it's the LTZ, and it does have a bit more of an American big truck look to it, in my opinion. It's got the chrome 20-inch wheels, LED lighting, it's got a different front-end design, and on the inside it looks and feels a little bit different to this model here. Now, this one here is the ZR2. It's the off-road special version, essentially, the flagship model. Gets a different front end design. It gets big 18-inch alloy wheels with massive all-terrain Goodyear tires. It's got different suspension. It's got front and rear locking differentials. It's got an off-road camera system, but no front parking sensors, so it's not ideal for urban driving, this car, in case you didn't know. And I'm going to run through all the stuff you really need to know about the interior soon as well. But let's talk about alternatives to this rig, because there are a few good ones. I've done reviews of a few of these big trucks in the past, including the Ford F-150. I reckon that it is a really compelling vehicle because it has a really excellent powertrain. It's got a lovely interior finish, and it also looks and feels nice on the inside. It's easy to drive for the size of it, and it does have big towing capacity as well. Another option, obviously, that you might want to check out is the Ram 1500. I reckon that the Ram does have a few features that you might really appreciate. It's still available with that V8 petrol engine, which is on its way out in favor of a turbo 6. But hey, I still think that it stands out as one of the better options in this segment as well. And then there's also the Toyota Tundra. Now, I haven't had a chance to drive the Tundra. It's only in its infancy in Australia. There's been a limited availability of those vehicles to test, so I haven't had a chance to do a review yet. But stay tuned, I will bring you a review of the Tundra when I get a chance, because I think that it could stack up really well. It is a Toyota after all, and maybe that is all you need when you're looking for a big truck. What do you reckon? This is a very big rig. It's almost 6 meters long. It's almost 2 meters tall and 2 meters wide. It has a massive wheelbase as well. And to me, long wheelbase and this much weight, I'm going to put the weight on your screen now, doesn't necessarily equate to the ideal off-road vehicle. And like I said, I'm not doing an off-road test as part of this review, but I'll put the off-road angles on your screen in case you're wondering. And also, I'll just call out the fact that this is the ZR2, so it sits a bit higher and it doesn't have side steps. So getting in and out is actually pretty challenging. And at the back, it does have a pretty decent sized tub, just excuse the bins there. You do have side steps on the bumper there, so you can get in and out a little bit more easily. Yes, it's got a tow hitch as well, and it's also got some plugs here for your trailer cameras as well. Now, so you just press this button here to open the tailgate. Nice soft opening tailgate as well. And look, it does have a tub liner here on the back section, the actual tailgate. It's a plastic finish, but in here it's a spray-in liner, so it's super duper durable. You've got lights in the back, you've got heaps of tie-down points on the inside as well, and it's a massive tub as well. Just have a look at the dimensions on your screen. Yes, that means you can fit a pallet between the wheel arches, and it's very long. So the gap between the tailgate and the headboard is about 2 meters or so. So you could actually sleep in there if you really wanted to. It would be hopefully a pretty comfortable experience. But it's also got a nice easy close action to the tailgate. If you buy the base model one, it actually has an electric closing assistance as well. And underneath here, you'll also find that you do have a spare wheel as well, which is great to see. So stacks up all right, I reckon. I mean, it's big, but it packs a fair bit in. It doesn't look like this ute has come to Australia in left-hand drive and had its guts absolutely ripped out and then turned into a right-hand drive vehicle. It is a convincing and well-finished and also pretty well built feeling cabin, I have to say. I also think that it looks fantastic in terms of the design and the usability of this cabin too. Now, we'll get to the screens in a sec. I just want to show you a couple of the storage highlights first. So push this button here, that's your top glove box. You've got another glove box down there, and you've also got big bottle holders in the doors, and you've also got a section here which probably should be a wireless phone charger but isn't, which is disappointing. Got a couple of cup holders here, there's another couple of trays for loose items there, and you've also got another little storage here which probably should be a wireless phone charger and it isn't. There's another tray inside this center console bin which is removable. You've got USB ports in there if you need them. And so look, the practicality element is pretty well sorted. There's also more cup holders back there for the rear seat occupants, and there's another little storage tray up there too. So all of that is pretty handy, and you've also got in front of the driver there's a head-up display that shows up on the windscreen as well, and you've also got this 12-inch digital instrument display in front of the driver too, which, I mean, the car's not on, but let's turn it on, and it might beep and bong a little bit, but there are a few different menus and stuff that you can go through on that screen to basically get an idea of what's going on with the car. You've also got this bigger touchscreen media system over here. Now there is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You can connect up wirelessly to Apple CarPlay. Unfortunately, there is no wireless charger, which means that wireless CarPlay isn't as useful as it could be, because you can't just pop your phone on the charger when you hop into the car and keep it charged up, and it will get through your battery a little bit quicker when you're using wireless CarPlay, but it is very quick to respond. I just actually wish that this was a full screen layout, because it would make for a better integration of this smartphone mirroring system, but you still get the big clock if that's what you want, or your trailer status, or the song that's playing. So that's interesting in its own right. The screen itself, yes, there's a whole bunch of other menus that you can dive through if you need to. There's a bunch of stuff about towing and trailering, as they call it. And yes, it is a pretty interesting setup, but maybe not the most intuitive, despite being relatively simple. Now, you've also got a camera system as well, so you can quickly press the button and check out your camera view. That's front, that's to the sides, and that's at the front over the bonnet. Then you've also got a tow ball view or tow bar view, which is pretty handy, I have to say. You can check out the rear sides as well, and also the backup camera as well. So there's plenty of different views to play with there, and also a bed view if you want to see what's happening in the tub for whatever reason. That's kind of cool, I reckon. I do like that down below here you've got your controls for the climate that you want to set up for yourself. So you've got a dual zone climate controller there as well, fan speed adjustment there, all the directional elements for your airflow is taken care of as well. And yes, you also get heating and cooling for the seats as well. And there's also a steering wheel heating button on the steering wheel too. Now here is your trailer brake control setup. So yes, that comes as standard. You don't have to pay extra to get trailer braking sorted out for your vehicle. And above it, you've got an array of buttons as well to do with this vehicle. Things like your lane keeping system, so you can turn that off if you don't like it. You've got auto start stop. I know a lot of people like to turn that off as soon as they get in the car. Turn off your parking sensors as well if you want to. You can even lower the tailgate from here if you need to, and that's where you'll find your front and rear differential locks, your hill descent control mode as well, and your traction control too. So look, for the most part, I reckon that it's all very logically positioned and laid out. Just one thing you want to keep in mind, you don't have a right side stalk, so it's just this one for your indicator and your wipers. And yes, you do have a pretty conventional gear selector down here as well. Now, if you're wondering where your off-road controls are, you'll find some over here. So you've got your four-wheel drive high range, low range, and two-wheel drive high as well, or you can put it into auto mode, and there's also a trailer control mode there as well. Lights and so forth. Your head-up display controls are there too. So look, for the most part, you do have pretty good controllability from this cabin, and I do think that most of these elements are really well finished. And let me tell you, you will also need to get used to using this when you're getting in and out, because there are no side steps. And also you do get illuminated vanity mirrors, which is a nice touch. Some other vehicles don't get those. There are also some controls up here. So you've got this rear window switch, which you trigger from there if you need to open that back window for whatever reason. And there's also, strangely, no sunroof, which is a bit of a surprise in a vehicle that costs this much money. All right, let's check out the back seat space and see what it's like. No surprise that it is a very roomy backseat experience, right? This is a huge vehicle with a massive cabin, and look, my legs are stretched out and I can only just sort of reach in underneath with my feet. That seat is set for my driving position at 182 centimeters or 6 foot tall. It is very, very spacious. There's no doubt about that. You'll fit 3 adults across the back, and headroom is also really, really good. You've got plenty of glass too, so a good view out for everyone in the back. And if you do have little ones, there are ISOFIX points in the window seats and a top tether as well. You just have to tether to the middle point of the seat behind this headrest. Now, in here, let's have a look what we've got. There's a flip down armrest with some more cup holders, which is good to see. And also we've got cup holders in front here with directional air vents, USB ports, so USB-C and USB-A, and also the rear outboard seats are heated to mat pockets on the seat backs, a flat-ish floor, so there's not much of a hump to contend with in terms of foot space there. I'm just going to show you something else about this back seat, which is pretty nifty. Excuse the noise if there's a bit of ruckus happening in the background. These open up, so you've got extra little storage cubbies behind there, and you can also pull up these seat bases and there's a little storage box underneath both sides. So that's pretty handy, I reckon, and it makes for a pretty practical truck. It is a very big rig and it feels very big in the back. So under the bonnet, you've got a 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8 petrol engine. It's got pretty huge power and torque outputs, and it has a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it's 4-wheel drive as well, with a 4-wheel drive auto mode, so you can drive it in 4-wheel drive on sealed surfaces too. Now, if you choose the entry-level version, you get an auto-locking rear differential. If you choose this high-grade off-road special one, you get front and rear full locking differentials if that's what you need. There's also a more serious transfer case, a 2-speed transfer case for this vehicle. So look, if you are looking for something that is big, super duper big, and has super duper good capability when it comes to off-road stuff, on paper at least, then this could be a really good choice for you. Now, when it comes to towing, you've got a 750 kilo unbraked towing capacity and 3.5 ton towing capacity for a 50mm tow ball. If you decide to fit a 70mm ball, then you get up to 4.5 tons for the LTZ and 4.2 for the ZR2. Righto, so what is it like to drive this mega machine? It is mega. It makes me feel like I am the king, and I bloody love it for that. It is unashamedly huge, this vehicle, but it doesn't actually feel too cumbersome to drive. It feels very flat, very settled on the road, and extremely comfortable too. But yes, obviously, you have to pay attention to your surroundings. It is massive, and you sit up so much higher than anything else on the road that you sort of feel like, well, anything could happen at any moment. And hey, I actually had a moment before where a little girl was on her scooter riding along the road. She probably shouldn't have been on the road, but she was on the road, and thankfully I saw her, because it is not easy to see out the front of this car because it's just fucking huge. The mirrors maybe aren't perfect, but they are good enough. Some of these conversion vehicles do have mirror limitations because of the existing housings not really necessarily working for a right-hand drive application, but these ones are pretty good, I reckon. And also there's the digital rear view camera system. So where the rear vision mirror is, you can turn it into a camera view out the back, so you get a better view without any interruption interruption to your view from anyone in the back seat, which actually is more handy than you might expect. And as I said, you do have the surround view camera system, which is a pretty good thing when you are trying to park. And it feels absolutely manageable, which is awesome, you know? Like, it is a 6 meter long, 2 meter wide, 2 meter tall vehicle, but it feels like it's pretty easy to drive, which is surprising, I reckon. Now, it also is an absolute mammoth when it comes to this powertrain. This 6.2 litre V8 is an absolute corker. Look, it's not necessarily like as grunty as a big turbo diesel might feel, but it does have the revability that you would expect of a V8 petrol engine. And like, I know it's not going to be great on fuel, we'll get to that soon, but it's also a nice livable powertrain, and it is well balanced in terms of a mix of different driving scenarios. So it's easy to drive at low speeds, it settles into a cruise at higher speeds, and it feels really, really enjoyable in my opinion, this powertrain. Also, the automatic transmission, it's a 10-speed auto, and I've just been in high range 2-wheel drive all week. I haven't really needed to use the 4-wheel drive auto system or low range at all, and it's been perfectly amenable, and it doesn't lose traction easily, even though if you do put your foot down, you can obviously try and break free at the rear if you want to, but I reckon that it's pretty manageable and also pretty secure and safe feeling as well. It is a bloody big vehicle, so you will have to occasionally do a 3-point turn where you would have otherwise been able to just do a U-turn, maybe a 5-point turn, maybe a 7-point turn. It just depends on the street, obviously, but it is still very easy to turn this vehicle around. It does have pretty predictable steering, and it surprisingly feels kind of car-like in terms of the drive experience. Now, this car does have mud terrain tires, and they can be pretty vocal. You can hear them sort of humming and squealing away at times when you're going 100 or 110 k's an hour. And also in this particular vehicle, there's a bit of a shudder through the body when you are at that speed as well. But honestly, the ride and the controllability of the vehicle is still very, very good. It isn't cumbersome, it isn't clumsy, it actually feels confident and secure on the road, and I actually think that it's surprisingly good to drive, surprisingly easy to drive on a daily basis, as I have been for the last week. So look, there's nothing really that stands out as being bad about the drive experience, apart from maybe the fuel consumption. Let's talk about that now, shall we? Rightio, so let's talk about fuel consumption. The official combined cycle fuel consumption figure for the different versions of the Chevy Silverado 1500 is on your screen now. Unsurprisingly, it's a bit of a guts. It's got a 6.2 litre petrol engine in something that weighs a lot, so that's unsurprising in my opinion. If you're going to tow, you're going to see a higher number. Go off-road, again, you'll see a high number. So look, I didn't do either of those things with this test. It was just to see what it's like to live with on a daily basis. And if you're wondering what I saw across my mix of driving over a week of testing, including open road, urban driving, and the stop-start stuff that you might have to deal with, you'll see the figure on your screen now. So yeah, it's a little bit thirsty, but hey, that's no surprise, I don't think. There is no applicable ANCAP or Euro ANCAP rating for this vehicle, and I guess it is a big rig, and I mean, it might be safe for you, but maybe not for anyone else on the road if you're in an accident. But hey, it does have heaps of crash prevention technology, things like autonomous emergency braking, there's lane keeping assistance, there's blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, and it's also got a surround view camera system as well. But you don't get front parking sensors on this ZR2 grade because of the different front bumper that it gets. You do get those front parking sensors on the LTZ, and you also get rear parking sensors on both as well. And it's got 6 airbags, dual front side, and full length curtain coverage. When it comes to warranty, you've got a 3-year, 100,000 kilometer plan for this vehicle, which is not the most peace of mind you can get for this kind of money, that's for sure. Now, when it comes to servicing, your intervals are every 12 months and 12,000 kilometers. So it's a little bit more needy than some of the other vehicles out there that you might consider as well. And while you do get a 3-year roadside assist plan, there is no cap price servicing available for this vehicle. So you might want to speak to a dealership if you are considering it to get an idea of what the costs might be in terms of running it. Look, I don't need a big rig like this, but I can understand why you might want something like this in your life because, wow, it makes you feel like you are on top of everything when you're driving this car. It feels large and in charge. It doesn't feel like it's too cumbersome to drive either. And I reckon that it does stack up pretty well in this big full-size truck segment. But tell me what you think about it in the comments section below. Do you think the price is right for this spec, or would you go for the lower grade version? I'd love to hear from you. If you've already liked and subscribed, thanks very much. See you in the next one.